Hello, everyone, and welcome to a new session with Rights and Responsibilities Awareness Initiative. We are lucky again to have our friends from Libro Credit Union, Megan Dislip and Ingrid Perot, to talk to us about a very important and timely topic, debt smarts, and to find also some financial literacy about this important topic, which seems to be an issue nowadays. So thank you so much, Ingrid and Megan, for being here today with us.
Thank you so much, Heatham, for having us, and thank you for joining us today to talk about debt smarts. My name is Megan Deslip, and I'm an investment specialist with Libro Credit Union, and I'm joined today by Ingrid Parrott, a small business specialist with Libro. We're here as part of a series called Each One Teach One, which is financial institutions that go out in the community to share financial literacy and financial knowledge with community members to give them the ability to make better financial choices and decisions for their future. Although we're here on behalf of Libro today, our goal is not to sell or share Libro with products and services to you. We're here to provide education. And we're excited to dive in to today's topic about debt smarts. Today, you're going to be learning tips to manage your debt, when it makes sense to get a consolidation loan, the difference between a consumer proposal and bankruptcy, and much more.
Thank you, Megan, for starting us off. So what are debt smarts? Let's start there. So borrowing money to help you improve your financial health when you're struggling to pay creditors. What are some examples of good debt? So borrowing that is future focused. So borrowing for your mortgage, a student loan, an RSP, which is a registered retirement savings plan, TFSA, which stands for tax-free savings account, and RESP, which is a registered education savings plan. Some examples of financially challenging debt would be borrowing to buy things that you consume or have only short-term value. So things like a vacation, borrowing debt for electronics, eating out, or fashion are some examples.
If you're struggling with debt, let's talk about some signs that you might have a debt problem, and then we're going to talk about some solutions and ways to help you get out of debt. So some signs you might have a debt problem is making minimum payments on credit cards and other debt obligations, using your overdraft protection on a regular basis, getting credit card cash advances, using payday lenders, if you have debt collectors calling or you're uncertain about the total amount of debt that you have, if you're using one loan to pay for another loan, if you're considering consolidating your debt, you're having your wages garnished or other assets seized, being near the limit on most of your credit cards, and missing payments. These can be some signs that you might be struggling with debt. And the good thing is that you have rights when you're talking about your debt. There's no cost to discuss debt solving options, and we're going to discuss a few different strategies to help you here. After a phone consultation, the process has to be done face-to-face, and your RSPs are protected, so your retirement savings with some stipulations.
So here are some debt smart options presented in an order. So the first one would be to negotiate a better rate with your creditors. So this would be something like, for example, your credit cards, you would call your credit card company and try to negotiate a better rate on those cards. Second option here would be to talk to your financial institution. Third, ask for a consolidation loan, which is where you list out all of your debts and you consolidate them, you move them all into one payment, one loan. Seeking credit card or credit counseling, sorry. Ask for a consumer proposal. And the last option would be to declare bankruptcy. So step one, so negotiating with your creditors, a little bit more about this. So pros would be they may renegotiate a payment plan that works for you, and you will not damage your credit rating with this step. Cons would be creditors can decide not to negotiate new terms or a better rate, and the payments may last longer and be higher than other debt management programs and their options. Step two would be to ask your financial institution about a consolidation loan. Pros would be your financial institution pays all your debts and you pay the financial institution one monthly payment at a lower interest rate. And then cons would be you must not get access to new credit or new loans for the loan period. And you may be asked to destroy all but one credit card. So let's look at an example for a debt situation of $24,000. Let's see if a consolidation would make sense here. So we're looking at a personal loan of a 7% interest rate. The balance owing now would be $10,000. Monthly payment would be $300. Visa balance is almost 20%, so 19.99%. Balance owing $5,000. Monthly payment $158. Store credit card 18%. So this would be another credit card here at a balance owing $2,500. Monthly payment would be about $90 there, and a car loan. Interest rate of 8%. Balance owing $6,500 and $250 for that monthly payment. So looking at monthly payments of $590, sorry. And then there's an asterisk here of adding in $105 for an annual fee for two of those loans as well. Consolidation would make sense here. So at the bottom here, total cost. So without the consolidation, you would be paying $30,385. With the consolidation, you'd be paying $26,459 overall. And this further breaks down to your fees paid. The principal paid is still the same, the $24,000. Interest paid, so you can see without the consolidation, the interest paid is higher, so $6,070. And with the consolidation, the interest is $2,459. You're debt-free in 38 months with the without the consolidation, sorry, and with the consolidation, 4 months sooner in 34 months. Your monthly payment without consolidation, $798, and with consolidation, $800. So it makes sense to look at a consolidation for this scenario.
So next, let's talk about how to be your own debt manager. So maybe you're struggling with debt currently, and you want to know what steps you can take. The first thing that I'd recommend is to contact your creditors and lenders. A lot of them, with no guarantees, will be flexible on repayment plans, maybe your interest rate. If you let them know that you're struggling, they can look at options to help. You can also look at free debt consultations. Ask the experts, and people are willing to look at your specific situation. Setting up automatic payments towards your debt is really helpful. That as soon as your paycheck is deposited to your account or any other deposits that you have, that payments automatically happen towards your debt. In the meantime, don't apply for any new credit or debt. Monitor your accounts. Stick to a budget or spending plan with a plan to pay back your debt and not having any unnecessary expenses in the meantime. And then stay motivated. Having a plan and seeing when you'll eventually be out of debt is really motivating to stick to it. So let's talk about step 3, which are some debt management programs. Similarly to a consolidation loan, debt management programs allow you to repay debts with one manageable monthly payment. You could save thousands of dollars of interest. It allows you to explore all options to get out of debt and regain financial stability, effectively manage all your bills and living expenses, can help reduce or eliminate interest expenses from credit cards, avoid bankruptcy, stop collection calls, and eventually become debt-free and start saving for your future. So how do debt management programs work? Your credit counselor would contact companies to which you owe money for and ask for their cooperation with this program. Creditors at that point might agree to reduce or eliminate interest and/or fees on your debts. Keeping in mind, not all debts are covered by this program. So secured debts like a car loan, a mortgage, or government debt wouldn't fall under this umbrella. And then there are fees that are paid to the agency on a monthly basis, and those are included in your payment. So the first step of a debt management program is credit counseling. Credit counseling is free and confidential, and credit counselors have vast knowledge in this area of debt consolidation, repayment, settlement programs. They can also provide money management education, budget assistance, and further information and refer you to the next person if necessary. Credit counseling can provide you peace of mind that you're on the right track and prevent serious credit damage due to defaulting on loans. It can help you, it prevents you from being sued by creditors and allows you to avoid additional finance charges. With credit counseling, it's not guaranteed that you're going to get a deal from a creditor, and it could possibly keep you in debt longer than other options that we'll discuss soon. And it does entail fees, especially if you hire a debt management company.
So what are some of these credit counseling cautions? So just some things to be aware of. Sometimes it's advertised as that they can do the impossible with your debt. There could be a promise that you will only pay half of what you owe or that you will get fast results. Oftentimes, it's not a fast process because it's something that you need to continuously work through. And sometimes you'll see some services claim to be a government program affiliate. So just be mindful, do some research on the company that you're looking at if you are looking to do credit counseling, okay? When you are in this stage, some things to ask. So ask what specific services are included. Is this going to be a proposal or is it going to be a written plan for you to follow? Is money management training provided? Are statements provided? And can debts be repaid outside of the plan? So can you look to maybe pay it faster, or is there any wiggle room flexibility with the plan? Ask about possible fees as well. So is there a consultation fee, application fee? Is there a maintenance fee or a membership fee, an upfront fee, And all of these might be called different things. So just be mindful on the fees. Is there a fee for each creditor that you're speaking to or that you're dealing with? And are fees negotiable?
So the next step in a debt management program could be a consumer proposal. If credit counseling is unsuccessful, this is an option too. A consumer proposal allows you to keep your assets and provides you peace of mind. It prevents you from being sued by creditors and stops interest fees. A consumer proposal is a plan that will allow you to avoid finance charges and take control of your finances. It is still not a guaranteed deal from creditors and can still keep you in debt longer than some other options. There are fees and it does have a negative impact on your credit rating, so it is a serious consideration before you want to accept a consumer proposal. So a consumer proposal is sometimes said the same as a bankruptcy. It is not the same as a bankruptcy. It is actually a preferred option where you repay back about 20 to 30% of your debt, and interest and finance charges are stopped, wage garnishments are stopped, and it can be paid in full anytime without penalty as well. So how a consumer proposal works is that if you have debt less than $250,000 and not including your mortgage, you can meet with a trustee to discuss options. They would file a consumer proposal on your behalf, and then all of your creditors would have 45 days to consider and vote on your consumer proposal. If the majority of your creditors accept the proposal, then it's legally binding on all creditors, so they all have to accept it. You would pay your trustee monthly, and then your trustee would pay your creditors. As part of this, you have to attend 2 financial counseling services, and after your last payment, you get a certificate of full performance stating your consumer proposal is completed. There are fees to filing for a consumer proposal, and like we said, especially with hurting your credit score, some risks there. So there would be a filing fee to the superintendent of bankruptcy, an administrator fee, first month's payment, and then other fees are normally included in the monthly payment for up to 5 years. So you definitely want to be aware of all the fees involved before signing for something like this.
So let's look at the next stage, which would be bankruptcy. So being declared in law as unable to pay your debts. This is what bankruptcy means. When you file for bankruptcy, it immediately stops most creditors from taking your wages. And your bankruptcy trustee will deal with your unsecured creditors on your behalf. And charged. Pros: income is be a note on your credit report for 6 years after bonded after bankruptcy, and you must give total control of. So some things to add. It's a very complicated process. So please get advice before you file. Will I be required to do in my bankruptcy? What's the plan for you? And what can I keep? How will bankruptcy with bankruptcy would be a filing fee with a superintendent of bankruptcy. Would be paid at $200 a month for 9 months. A portion of your earnings above a certain level, so this is known as surplus income, would be distributed to creditors, and mandatory credit counseling sessions paid by you is another additional cost. So a note around the surplus income. So the government decided that the more you make, the more you will be required to pay while you are bankrupt. So you are allowed to keep a portion of your income that is reasonable to cover normal living expenses. So your surplus income limit or threshold, and whatever you earn over that amount, you are required to pay half to the trustee. Do we have any questions?
Thank you, Ingrid and Megan. And yes, I do have a question and I do have a comment also. I've noticed when you were just showing the interest rate for each debt, the high interest rate for credit cards and line of credit, which is actually brings me to a previous session when we talk about loans you don't want to 1999%. Wow.
Yes.
So I think the first step we need to take is to do our due diligence and not to get ourselves involved with such loans. So thank you so much for this informative presentation. I have a question. If I have a debt and I'm struggling with, and how do I know which program is better to manage this debt?
Great question, Heatham. We had a lot of information that we covered today. We talked about credit counseling, we talked about consumer proposal, and we talked about bankruptcy. And there's no perfect answer for anyone of which option works best for them. This slide here shows you, though, a really good comparison between the three to summarize everything. So it shows you the percentage of debt that's repaid, 100% with credit counseling, about 30% with a consumer proposal, and with a bankruptcy, there's no set percentage. It shows you whether the interest is frozen by law or frozen by negotiation, what your monthly payment would look like, as well as administration costs. On the next slide here, it does show you your impact on your credit rating, which will affect your ability in the future to get loans, the timing of how long it takes to complete the process, and what qualifications are needed by any advisors that you're meeting with. So if you're reaching out to a consumer proposal, to have a consumer proposal done or a bankruptcy, you want to be looking for a licensed trustee by the federal government. That's really important. And lastly here, the creditor agreement, what that includes and what your role is in that. So then just to summarize everything, as Heatham was alluding to, some ways to avoid debt problems is to create a realistic budget and stick to it. Pay for your wants, so your fun money and that sort of thing in cash can really be helpful. You could decrease the credit limit on your credit card to make sure that you're not spending too much money on a credit card that you're unable to pay back on a regular basis. Opting for a low interest credit card. Typically, higher interest credit cards can offer more rewards and that sort of thing, which sounds great, but it can continue the cycle of debt by having that very high interest rate as well. Setting up automatic bill payments, which we touched on, and then avoiding buy now, pay later offers. I know that's something I see frequently when I'm shopping online is they'll say, oh, instead of paying $80 now, you could pay $20 over the next 4 months. And you want to avoid that as much as possible. Pay it up front. And if you can't afford that, really considering if that's a want or a need that you're purchasing. Thank you so much for attending today. It was a lot of information and hopefully something that you found valuable. And we're looking forward to seeing you again at another presentation.
Thank you so much, Ingrid and Megan, and for everyone. Thank you for joining us today. Stay safe, stay well, stay out of debt as much as possible, and looking forward to see you at another